Good evening, Coalinga. Once again, I'm here. My ugly face is taking up your news feed. I apologize for that. Have Manny Ramirez here with me today. Manny is a council candidate for District 4. For those of you that don't know, District 4 is currently occupied by Councilwoman Stolt. Councilwoman has decided not to run for re-election, and there are currently three people running for that seat: Manny Ramirez, Kevin Donaldson, and Ruth Thurman. Ruth had a scheduling conflict today, so Manny jumped in. Let's hear a little bit about Manny. Oh, before we get to Manny, don't forget that October 15th is Candidates Night. It's very important that you watch that. It's going to be done by the Chamber, but it'll be on Zoom, I believe, or Facebook Live, I'm sure, right here on Coalinga Citizens. So with that, here's Manny. Manny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, Coalinga. My name is Manny Ramirez. I'm running for District 4. Been a community citizen resident for many years. Back and forth. We lived here in Coalinga, 1978 when I was 2 years old. Been back and forth, lived in Huron, came back to Coalinga, started living here, experienced the earthquake, graduated from here, went to college here, and current one of the board directors for the Park and Rec, and that's going great. And it's time to move forward, and I enjoy it, and hopefully I could do both. But other than that,
Very good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Parks and Rec? What's going on with Parks and Rec right now while we're on that subject?
Well, Parks and Rec right now, we're moving into phase 2. I believe Huron right now has its construction almost done. We have decided to redo the Huron pool because it had a lot of damage. So I think we were planning on doing a water park, but I think the best interest for the community there would be fixing up their pool.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yes, and we are doing 2 professional soccer fields there and a youth soccer field in the other park. And there's a lot of movement. Same with here. We're replacing all the playground.
Okay.
Playground, and
I've noticed that at
yes.
Keck Park. We've seen some new playground equipment going
yes.
there.
Oh, yes.
What will happen? And you talked about phase 2 with the parks. What's going to come with that? What's going to come with phase 2? What differences will we see out there?
Well, phase 2, I believe in my last 2 agendas, there was a dog park. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people have been kind of questioning that. But we do have it in place, I believe, and like I said on Facebook, that I will get the whole information on that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that are going there right now. I just opened up the soccer fields. The 2 soccer fields are open.
I saw people playing on it for the first time since they redid the fields. It looks great. It's nice to see people out there. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. And it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's exciting having people on there. They look great. It just, we have some damage from, of course, the squirrels, the rabbits. It's near a creek.
Right.
You can't avoid that. But, with people on it, it's going to, diminish that problem. So the next phase is to try to see we could find a company with putting lights on it.
Very good. So with all those things comes money. So it's all, I know how that is.
Yes.
One of the things that has been talked about lately is the dog park. It seems like years ago they erected a fence and called it a dog park. The last thing I would actually call that thing is a dog park. Yeah. So you're just saying it might be involved in phase 2, possibly?
Yes. It wasn't our plan. Mm-hmm. It wasn't our plan. I did see it in our agenda. I did see it with the engineers' blueprints.
Right.
But like I said, I will check in that tomorrow, and I'll make sure that I'll put it out there in public, and
perfect.
Easily, yeah.
So let's talk about the position you're running for, council. What made you want to run for council? Why are you running? What do you think you'll bring to the council?
I decided to run because I really seen our community and our city falling apart.
Right.
Not falling apart. Kind of distancing itself. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a lot of not a lot of hard issues and struggles, but we kind of need to come together and not this side don't like this side or whatever. But I think what something I could bring is that involvement and that understanding with every council member there. Because at the end of the day, we have to be together on that, and we have to come to an agreement, of course, with everything and every issue there is, which is fire department, police, community, anything.
Right. So it'd be a lot better for a cohesive unit, I guess.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes,
So,
and it will make us a stronger community.
Definitely better. Very good. Very good. Tell me about your priorities that you're going to have. What are some of the things that you want to bring forward? What are things that are important to you issue-wise for Coalinga? What would be some of your priorities while you're on council?
One thing that I really, really want is our police department more involved with our community. They're great. I've had great history with them, with a lot of officers. The fire department as well. They've been really supportive in a lot of the things that I've been involved, and I think a lot of the community has that issue that they're not doing their job, or they're only here on the, and for me myself, even if there's no crime, that would be good.
Right.
I don't care if we had 7, 10, 20 officers, as
right.
Better to have them there than to have a crime or something serious and not have them there.
Right.
And
Okay. Well, while we're talking about police, let's talk about the movement to defund the police that's going on nationwide and BLM. Why don't you tell me about your thoughts on both those issues?
I think the issue of defunding any law enforcement is the worst thing that could happen to any community, any city around the nation, even around the world. We've seen a lot of nations and a lot of communities that they don't have enough police department, or they don't have a police department, and it's tragic, and it creates danger.
Right.
And I would never ever even think about defunding the police. And as a matter of fact, even if we could work more part-time, or we could have even the state hospital and get involved with our community, Highway Patrol would be even great.
Yeah. Yep. And they're all right there. It'd be
Yes,
easier.
exactly.
So, moving on from that, let's talk about a big issue in Coalinga, and that's the issue of cannabis. We have a lot of cannabis companies coming to Coalinga. With them comes a lot of revenue, or we're starting to generate a lot more revenue than we were before. What are your thoughts on the cannabis industry here in Coalinga? Should we continue to court cannabis industries to come to Coalinga, and should we even restructure our tax structure with regards to the cannabis industry in order to make it more appealing to other cannabis companies to come here? We're in the middle of nowhere, but we're perfectly centered between LA and San Francisco, which makes us a pretty prime location for things like that. So what are your thoughts on the cannabis industry? Should we appeal to more cannabis companies to come here, or do you think we have enough and we should start moving on trying to get other things here?
I think if they bring revenue to us, if they bring a structure to our town, like you said, you made a great point. We are in the dead center of San Francisco and Los Angeles, and not only cannabis. I mean, if we could bring other business as well, that'd be great.
Right.
There's something. I mean, we have 198 and I-5. There's two main, crossing roads that go through here. We see bikers, we see everybody. I think, not only cannabis, and it's great, that they're here, and if there are more that want to come in, I'm for it, because they're bringing us and putting us on the map. Then yes, but yes, I do believe if it brings us out there, then yeah, and with the taxes, I think so, because if other cities or towns are lowering their taxes, where does that leave us?
Right.
And like you said, we're in the center of it, and I think right now it's a good idea.
Very good. Let's talk about our budget here for a minute. For years, Coalinga's had a hard time with the budget. We went through a terrible financial disaster back in 2008, and it created a lot of problems with the city budget. In the last couple of years, we've been able to get it a little bit under control. We've been able to pass balanced budgets. Would there ever be a situation in which you would vote for a budget that accumulated debt, or would you ever vote for a budget that had debt with it? And if so, what would be the reasons for approving a budget? So,
I think when when you discuss the budget, I think we really have to look closely. Like you mentioned, 2008, we took a hardship,
Right.
and we kind of repaired it, and we've been doing a great job. And the thing is that when it comes to that, if it would, if it would make our community, downfall on that, we would have to look into it really good.
Yeah.
And every single thing. I mean, from the bottom to the top, and that's what it is when you discuss the budget. Is it's coming together.
Right. And I'm sure you guys have budget meetings for Parks and Rec
Yes,
too, right?
yes. And sometimes sometimes you have to put something on hold
Right.
and move something else forward. It happens on a budget. We at the rec department, we actually built with Kirk Orwin, his soul rest in peace to the family and everybody. But we created a budget committee within the rec. That helped a lot.
Good.
That helped a lot.
Very good. Hopefully you can, if you get on there on the council, you can bring some of those ideas
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
Let's move on to gang violence in Coalinga. As we've seen over the last several months, pretty much this whole year, gang violence has increased dramatically with shootings. I think we've had well over 20 something shootings this year. And we've had a murder. We've had young people injured in shootings. We've had 14 and 12-year-olds out there shooting houses. What are some things that you think we should do to combat this gang violence?
I think, yeah, it is terrible. It's terrible and the terrible thing is young. They're young.
Yes.
And that's where, like I mentioned, I think the police department, we as a community, the council, we need to meet together and get out there with the community and create some more programs. I know the rec is there for the youth, but the rec shouldn't just be there, for the youth. We should get involved ourselves with everybody. And another thing, defunding the police, that would just increase the ratio on it, the percentage on it. And I believe it's a tragedy that we're having these shootings on a small community. I mean, growing up, you heard even a pellet gun shoot, like, what was that? Now we don't want it to get where it's normal.
Right, exactly.
We don't want it to get where it's normal. And like I said, I think we need to work either with the Highway Patrol, with the state police, other agencies, Avenel, Huron, and, do a radius community check like that.
Very good. And these aren't just things that you talk about. You actually do it. You are a football coach, is that right?
Football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you get involved with these kids, and you have a connection with them, and I think you can relate to them more than maybe some of the other people on the council. Let's move on. Why don't we talk about code enforcement and animal control? What do you plan to do about that, code enforcement and animal control? It seems to be on a lot of people's minds. People say the town looks like garbage and there's animals running around everywhere. Well, I believe that some of those things are true. However, we have to pay for things like animal control and code enforcement. Do you plan on wanting to get an animal control and code enforcement?
If we could, it would be a great idea. We've had them in the past, and I think we just gotta look back and see how that worked out.
Right.
If the city could afford it, it would be a great idea to, maybe a start would be a part-time, for both code enforcement and animal control.
Right.
But as we know that if an animal control comes in, I hope, I think the community knows that euthanizing would have to be involved with these animals. So code enforcement, of course, there's places out there that do need a like, hey, how about making it look good, Right. So but I believe that both of them are important in every town, every city. I think they are. But if we could work it out in a budget, it'll be a great idea.
Good. Very good. So that's pretty much all the questions I have. We had talked a little bit before we started this about football possibly starting up. Is that something that's going to happen?
Yes, me and the coaches in the organization are working on trying to either get in the same league or trying to get into another league that other teams are willing to play. I mean, Clovis, it's already playing. Mm-hmm. And, Other towns are already playing, and why should we be, standing and looking at them while we don't get our practice? We need our kids out there. That's one of my reasons why opening up the soccer fields, because they're more than welcome to use it for practice. And little by little, we're gonna start opening the rest and see how that goes, because we also have to sit down and see how we're gonna manage it.
Right.
Of course, if you guys seen, we put up cameras. Those cameras are there; they're working great. But yeah, football starting, and I believe we're gonna start in December or November.
Right. So those blue lights that you see out there in the fields, those are cameras that are
Yes,
blinking.
those are cameras, so we see what's going on
Right.
out there.
And I think they go right into the police department?
Yeah, the police department could come in and view them, and I think they do.
Very good, very good.
Yes.
Well, Coalinga, that is Manny Ramirez. He's the District 4 candidate for City Council. He will be running against Ruth Thurman and Kevin Donaldson. If you remember, I interviewed Kevin Donaldson a little earlier in the week. Don't forget, October 15th is Candidates Night. I hope you'll all watch that, and we thank Manny for being here. Go out there and vote, Coalinga. See y'all later.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.